Hello peoples and popples, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Fiction&Flora. You can call me Flora. And today, you know, we're trying to get back on track. Today is about, this video is about getting back on track. So it has been a while since we've last been together. It's been about a month and a half since we've last seen one another, you know? I've been gone. And no one is surprised because I was inconsistent to begin with, but I was getting better, and then here it's like, where did I go? And where I went is nowhere. Actually, I was in the middle of recording my translated vlog, and it was going well. I was planning to have it be about 2 weeks long, maybe a month, because, you know, I'm really bad at guessing how long things take for me. But I read a book and I wasn't happy about it. It was not a good book for me personally, and it threw me into a reading slump. And so now it has been since mid-August since I've read anything. I have not finished a single book since mid-August, and I'm just like, what happened? I was so excited. I was enjoying things so much, and now here I am struggling. I feel bereft. Is that the correct word? I don't know. Anyway, so this video is all about trying to get that spark back. So I think maybe a way to do that is to read a genre different from what I've previously been reading. So because I have like 5 or 6 books that I on my currently reading shelf, and that's like some literary fiction. I have some hard sci-fi, and I have some classics on there, which I think can also be termed as literary fictions, you know? And I'm thinking perhaps the reason I can't just jump back into it is because the books that I'm reading, even though I am enjoying them so far and I'm finding them really, really fun, they are a little too similar to the book that threw me into the reading slump. So what I'm thinking is, if I change genres for a little bit, try something else, then I can go back and finish that vlog. It's a thought. That does mean that my 2-week reading vlog is going on to 3 months, but like, who's counting? This is, you know, let's just be excited that it got done. Yeah. So anyway, I am doing a mini reading vlog. This one's going to last until Monday, and I have no real expectations, just to get me through my reading slump. So the ultimate like hope is that I finish 1 book, if not 2. But I'm giving myself 3 options, none of which are within the genres that I'm currently reading, and then maybe they will spark everything and I'll be like devouring stuff. So I'm giving myself until today is Tuesday, and so I'm giving myself until I'll give myself until Sunday. Yeah, from Tuesday to Sunday I will see how long it takes me to get there. So the books I'm going to be reading here, well, the books I'm going to be trying to read to spark my energy, my excitement. I have 2 new releases and 1 that is on back order that has some iffy reviews that I'm excited about. The first one I have is The Mother Thing by Ainsley Hogarth, and look at this cover. This cover is gorgeous, very, very nostalgic, very like beautiful colors, and it just feels like I'm into it. You see that like jelly right there, that jelly on the cover right there? Tell me that's not 1950s gross, like, ugh. Have you seen those videos of people like recreating 1950s recipes? Why do they like gelatin so much? Because they were going through an economic hardship, that's why. But all I'm saying is gelatin, my guy. Anyway, so from what I remember about this book, I did pre-order it, so it's been a hot second since I read the synopsis. But from what I remember this book, it is a supernatural horror following a woman who is being haunted by her mother-in-law. And her mother-in-law, when she was alive, didn't like her very much, and obviously she don't like her very much now that she's dead either. And that is what we're doing. It's probably got a decent amount of gaslighting because we're following a woman, and presumably involved some way with, it's reminiscent, if not directly set in the 1950s. So there's probably gonna be some gaslighting, a little psychological drama. I'm excited for this. If you are interested in picking this one up, it is $17 US currency. I do not know if it is available anywhere outside of the US. I say that simply because usually if it's internationally available, they'll have like multiple prices on the back to show the different currencies, but maybe it is. So within the US, this is $17, which does mean if you do get it internationally, it's probably going to cost you a pretty penny. It came out in soft cover, and oh, look at that wobble, really nice. The cover design is by Mark Abrams, and the illustrations, the face and hands are from CSA Images. The jellied salmon down there at the corner over here is courtesy of Davis Gelatine. I am excited to jump into this, see how it's going. Hopefully it will have a decent amount of action, because like I said, my other ones are more literary fiction, so there hasn't been anything to really spark that energy. The next one I have is another new release that I'm super excited about. I talked about it during my mid-year freak out, so no one's really that surprised. It is Leech by Hiron Ennis, and again, look at the cover. Gorgeous, like OMGZ. And this book is described here on the front as an entry to Gothic science fiction by Tennyson Muir, who I think does the blankety blank the ninth series, Gideon the ninth, something the ninth, something the ninth, those ones. I think that is the author of those books, which people have told me are great, so I imagine that their opinion is highly regarded, maybe. But basically this book follows a entity known as the Institute, and the Institute is yet unnamed entity that has burrowed into the mind of every doctor that we currently have in the world. Like, there are no untouched human doctors within this world, except that a new entity, which they call a parasite, is trying to invade in this like castle that's up in the most northern part of the world, and it's basically a fight over humanity between these two entities. I'm sure I described that badly, but here we are. And then the last book we have, and this is one that I just found out about because Book Outlet was having a sale, right? And I looked through their entire horror section during that sale to find myself some good horror books for spooky season. I love a I love horror books. I don't know if all of them are good, but I tend to have a good time. So I was on the hunt, right? And then I found this sequel. It was a fantasy horror. It was called it was a horror and a fantasy at the same time. And I was like, a fantasy horror? Like, we could be doing something amazing here. And if you notice I'm talking with my hands a lot, that's because I just did my nails myself, and I'm really proud of them, and I think they look really cute. And everything just feels more satisfying when you know? Anyway, what I was saying is, so that was the sequel, and I was like, well, I can't read this. I can't buy the sequel, even though it wasn't like $1. I can't buy the sequel if I haven't read the first. And me, being the good boy that I am, instead of going ahead and buying the book, because you know I have a hard time reading ebooks, but I'm gonna try first. I'm going to try first because I should be saving my money. I just bought a $30 book. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I told you, this book is $27.99 US and $36.99 Canadian. So you can imagine how expensive it is everywhere else. This is a book that I'm like, I don't know, like, I gotta read this because $27? And it ain't even that thick. Like, sorry, thinking about it stresses me out. I pre-ordered it, so I didn't remember the price, and then I saw it come out of my bank account, and I was like, stress. Anyway, so the book that I found, it was called, the book that I found was called God of Broken Things. And then I was like, okay, well then I have to find the first one. The first one is called The Traitor God. But from what I understand, no one's a god in these books. like they're not really gods. It's like so it follows a man who returns to avenge the murder of his friend. His friend was like brutally murdered, and the guy is like, dude, I'm gonna use everything that I have, my magic and my abilities, and I'm getting revenge. And apparently it's not great for world building. Apparently there's a lot of telling and not showing, and you know, that would usually put me off. But someone wrote, their review said it is basically a video game, it is basically a video game come to life. And honestly, I was sold. Like, not every book has to be well written to be a good book. Does that make sense? Like, it doesn't have to be like a literary masterpiece to be a good time. And so I'm hoping this will be a good time. Like I said, I got it on ebook. I'm not spending money because I just spent too much. I'm gonna try and read it on ebook, even though for some reason my brain cannot concentrate very well on ebooks. I get very distracted. I have a hard time completing things. Like, I even have a hard time reading some of my favorite books on ebook. So I'm going to do my best. If it doesn't work out, then I'll just see if I can find it on sale on Book Outlet again. Like, it's Book Outlet, $2, $3, $4 at most. Anyway, this is another one I'm gonna try. So those are 3 books, all who kind of have different, like, they're all horror. Like, that last one is iffy at best, but they're all horror or horrifying or dark books. I think one of my friends called that grim dark. I can't tell the difference between any of the fantasy sub-genres. So my friend called that grim dark. I'm gonna call it horror fantasy. But they're all different genres of horror. They all are supposed to have like some level of action in them. Except this is a gothic, so is it really gonna have action? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to try my best. I'm going to try these, hopefully finish one, and hopefully that'll spark me to continue my other vlog, you know? I've been talking for too long. I will check back in with you, you know? Once I choose one of these, get started. Like, I'm gonna read the first chapter of each of them, decide who I'm starting with, and I'll check back in with you, okay? Okay. Anyway, bye. It's now Wednesday, and you know how I said I was going to read the first chapter of each one and decide how I want to go forward from there? That's not what I did. Instead, what I ended up doing is talking on the phone with my friends for like 5 hours and then going to bed. Anyway, I did take Mother Thing to work with me today, and I am just over 50%, so I should be able to finish soon. I've been combo reading the audiobook and the physical book together, and I don't know how I feel about this book. I am not really enjoying it, but I don't dislike it. It's very middle of the road for me. And the thing that's the most confusing about it is I don't know what genre this is supposed to be. I thought it was supernatural horror, and that's on me. That's what I thought it was. It is not a horror, at least not from what I can tell at all. And then I see on the back that someone described it as being a masterfully crafted horror novel, this dark domestic drama. That's what I would call it, a domestic drama, not really a horror. And also someone said it was gory, irreverent, and totally irresistible. Not so far. It also isn't suspenseful. It's not thrilling. It's just a drama that happens to maybe have a ghost. There's not even like a confirmed ghost. Also, yes, I took one hand of nails off because I felt like it. In fact, I took them off just before I got to the office. I mean, got home from the office. Anyway, but like, there's nothing particularly thrilling about this. Like, if you would have told me this was literary fiction that had some dark themes, I would have believed you. I don't understand what this book is supposed to be. And it's not that I don't understand that not all horror is supposed to be, like, not all horror is gory. Not all horror is supposed to have like a slasher. You know, there's so many different types of horror, but this doesn't feel like it. Horror is a vibe, and this does not give me horror vibes. This gives me drama vibes. Like, like I said, dark domestic drama fits this very well. And I'm just like, I think I'm gonna finish it because these are really short chapters. It's very well written and the sentences are well crafted, but like it's just not, it's not doing what it needs to do. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people will like this, but I just, and maybe it's because of the main character's voice in this, like who we are following. I do not particularly enjoy her as a narrator for this story, so that is probably coloring this for me, because I'm very middle of the road. I don't dislike this book, like it's not a bad book. I'm having an okay time while I'm in it, but like I'm not going to remember much of this book. I can barely remember it now, so I'm not going to remember this book when I put it down. I am probably going to recommend it to a few people, like people who want to get into horror but are from like the more domestic thriller type thing. This I might offer them, but like, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I am going to check back in when I'm finished with this, and when and maybe my opinion will change in the last 100 or so pages. I'm on page 165 out of 270 something, so I've got like another 120-ish pages, so maybe my opinion will change. Who knows? Nothing's set in stone, but as of right now, I'm just not feeling it, you know? Okay, it is now Thursday. I have now completed Mother Thing, and I did not like this book. Towards the middle, like the middle to the end, towards the 75% mark, it was hitting a solid 3 stars. I was like, ooh, this could be getting better. Riley, I was like, ooh, this could be getting better. And then I kept reading, and oh, this book is an absolute disappointment for me. However, I think many people will like it. So, this book didn't really turn out to be a horror, in my opinion. It's not something I would ever recommend to someone as a horror book. However, maybe like a dark domestic thriller, maybe a horror domestic thriller, like some combination of that, because it's not a horror book, in my opinion. Anyway, and the thing is, when I finished this book, I was wondering if maybe I was misunderstanding what I thought it was about. Maybe they talked about it as if it was a thriller. Maybe it was marketed as a thriller. But no, I went to the Goodreads, and it was like, the first line is a dark comedic horror. Comedic? Funny? Do they think that talking about poo is funny? Because that did come out quite a bit. Diarrhea came up so much in this book. For what reason? I don't know. It wasn't like something that made you viscerally disgusted. It was just like there, and it was that supposed to be the funny part? What was the funny part? Also, I saw another person's review that really made me question whether or not I read the same book, because they were like, the mother-in-law. No, I'm gonna tell you exactly what it says. No names or anything. I can't find my phone. But anyway, it basically said like the mother-in-law from hell ghost story that you've been wanting. And what? No, it's not. If you are looking for a mother-in-law from hell ghost story, this is not the book for you. This story is like an exploration of her trauma. Like, this deals with a lot of trauma with her own mother, not her mother-in-law. It deals with her husband's trauma in relation to his mother. It deals with her very pervasive mommy issues and how that translates to how she treats everyone in her life. This is not a mother-in-law horror story. This is not a ghost story. This is basically a woman's psychotic break, which a lot of people will be interested in, and maybe I would be too if that's what I knew I was going into. But this is not a horror story, and I'm really disappointed that it wasn't. That being said, I did finish it. I think I'm gonna give it like a 2.5 stars, because it was so close to being what no, it wasn't. It was nowhere near close to being what I wanted, but I can recognize how well it's written. I can recognize how many people would enjoy this. I can recognize that I'm going to recommend this to quite a few people, but it's not for me. As far as recommendations go, I think I would say if you are looking to get into horror from domestic thrillers, or if you want to be inside the head of someone who's gone through past trauma, if you are someone who likes dual-ish timelines, it's not like exact one-to-one timelines, but we do get a lot of flashbacks of her, maybe this will be for you. Maybe. I had such high hopes, because look at this cover. Does this cover not seem as if, like, I thought there was going to be a mystery element. I thought there was going to be like actual screaming terror. Thought we were going to have some jellied foods. We did have a jellied salmon. So, but you know, I'm still really happy I bought this book, because I'm glad I experienced it, even if I didn't like the experience. And I am honestly, I'm just happy that I have this cover, because now I can display it on my shelf. Mark Abrams did that. Mark Abrams, high-key amazing. So thank you, Mark Abrams, for this great mantelpiece. Anyway, I am going, okay, so it has been about a week since I read Mother Thing by Ainsley Hogarth, and I wanted to give you some more structured thoughts about this book. This book is marketed, at least as from what I can tell, as a mother-in-law from hell story, where a woman slowly is tormented by the ghost of her mother. I have seen reviews that say it is exactly that. I have seen reviews who say this character is extremely dark, who say this is incredibly like terrifying for them. So I can assume maybe I am not the target audience for this book, because I did not feel any of those things. I did not find her very dark at all. Even when she got to the end of it and that twist happened, it was like, oh, okay. I felt nothing about anything when it came to this book, which is a shame, because I was looking quite forward to this. I am going to keep it. I think it is a wonderful addition to my shelves. However, if you are someone who reads horror regularly, I don't know if this is going to be that book for you. Maybe go into it as a psychological thriller. Maybe go into it as a what was it, a dark drama perhaps, but do not go into this thinking of it as a horror if you are someone who reads horror a lot. That's my personal take on this book. I sat on it and I was like, maybe 2.5 stars is too low, but honestly I think 2.5 stars is quite a high star rating for the experience of reading this book. Not because it was hard, not because it was like badly written, but because it's so easily forgettable. Like I can remember the plot of 3-star books. I have to work to remember. I know the general idea of all the things that happened in this book. I could tell you probably a good idea of the characters, if not their names, and like the vibes of them. This book is just like, I don't remember it until I look at the cover. It's not one I want to rant and rave about. It's not even one that I want to hate on, except for telling someone how disappointing it was. But like, I'm not going to go out of my way to discourage someone from reading it. It's just there, you know? I think a lot of people who enjoy domestic thrillers might enjoy this, or people who are more into psychological thrillers, or even people who are into hard-hitting contemporary and want to get into horror. I think this is a good gateway into that, because it's not quite to the level that I would call it a horror book, but it's close. It's like teetering on the edge. It's like blinking you'll miss it, almost horror. So I think this is very much a good book for people who are in those genres, so thrillers and drama and like hard-hitting contemporary where you're dealing with trauma and stuff. I think this might be the book. You know what, I might not have enjoyed this book, but it did what it needed to do and it got me back into reading. So hey, this was a successful reading vlog. I am now about 23% into Leech by Hiron Ennis, and I will tell you about it maybe in another video. And so far it's going great for a domestic, like not domestic, for a gothic sci-fi horror. This is going well. And I did try to read the fantasy book and it just didn't work out on the as an ebook. I don't know why I cannot read them, but I genuinely cannot. So I have gone ahead and ordered the physical copy, and maybe I'll read that along with Kings of the Wild and do that as a 2-part vlog, so I can get what is apparently a grimdark fantasy and a jokey fun fantasy together. Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it, and so does Riley. And I hope to see you in the next one. If you want to hang out with me between videos, you can find me and Riley over on Instagram, Twitter, and if you want to read any of my book reviews, you can find them on Goodreads and Storygraph and Readerly. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.